All right, we are out here with Cassian. I just wanted to warm up a little bit with doing some of the get into heel exercise, which he's doing magnificently with. I did notice on Sunday that you'd already added some movement to it, which is great. That's kind of the next step as well. But I was just kind of focusing on the stationary aspect of it because we're going to potentially start to remove the food from the no reward marker. So let's see, who's woofing over there? Rally. I'm glad that you're getting some woof spa or whatever it is, but shush. All right, so we're going to be talking about tactile cues this week, and tactile cues are really great because it allows us to remove the food. It helps us remove food from the picture and use it only in the reinforcement stage. So also very helpful when your dog is generally just like distracted or if you're in a loud environment. So having the ability to cue your dog for a behavior in different types of ways. Generally, we're focusing on 3 different ways when we're communicating with our dogs. And there's a little bit of a hierarchy when it comes to those types of signals. Rally, no thank you. So we have verbal communication, which is the one that we as humans kind of prefer to use. Obviously, we want to use verbal commands and have our dogs respond, and it's how we are most comfortable communicating. And then there's visual commands. So if you have something like this or like this. Good, okay. For a like visual cue. We don't spend too much time talking about visual signals, but those are helpful as well, and it is another way we communicate with our dogs. And then finally, we have tactile signals, and these are cues that your dog can feel. And generally, we're using the leash, physical touch on the body. An e-collar stim would be another example of tactile cues. So cues, communication, your dog can feel. So we're going to introduce, and actually Cassian and Rally both have a little bit of experience with this already. This is kind of be another skill that they've already had experience with doing in school. But we're going to introduce the tactile cue for SIT and the tactile cue for DOWN. And those are going to be a slight upwards pressure and a slight downwards pressure. So in most cases, anytime we're introducing a new cue for the sit command, it's the easiest thing you can do because anytime there's a question as to what your dog should be doing, they're generally going to offer that behavior. And so we do something called the rutabaga experiment. And I might have done this with you guys in the puppy, but if you were to just look expectantly at your dog and say some random word like rutabaga, they're going to offer the sit position. So we're going to apply the new cue for sit, which is going to be that slight upwards pressure. I dropped my microphone. Hopefully that doesn't mess everything up. Who knows? Sorry. As soon as his butt hits the floor, I want to release the pressure. So again, we're going to be talking to him with the leash. So when there is pressure on the leash, we're actually communicating to the dog that they need to change or fix something. And the dog can learn that specific types of pressure, whether that's kind of angled upwards or angled downwards or angled parallel to the floor, might mean specific things that they need to do. But generally, pressure means you need to change or fix something, and the lack of pressure means you are correct. So when I tell Cassian, with a slight upwards pressure, good, to sit, I'm going to tell him first that he's correct when he does it with the leash, and then I'm using my good reward marker. Good boy. So if you were to break, good. Same thing can happen, good. I was a little slow to release the pressure because he kind of sat instantly. Good. Good boy. So I'm going to reinforce him for not fidgeting in that sit. Good. 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 And he's getting a lot better with hearing that good reward marker. Good. He's also, I would also kind of make sure we're working on him coping with us digging around in our food pouch. Good. Good. And not having him break or impulsively go after food for that. Good. Okay, perfect. So he's got that one in the bag, obviously. Slight upwards pressure. Good. Okay. The practice for that is going to be more on the human end of the leash. So making sure that you're releasing the pressure as soon as he's correct. That's the most important part. So the next one, I'm not sure if he actually knows this or not. It's going to be a slight downwards pressure. And we're obviously going to be asking for the DOWN command. It looks like he's inclined to be in that sit position, but ideally I do want to teach my dog that DOWN position from a stand so that he doesn't learn that down means sit, then down, because we just fall into that routine usually sometimes, you know, like when we're practicing, we're like, okay, we're going to do sit and then we're going to do down. So I like when dogs know how to go into a down from a stand, which I think he already knows how to do. Down. Yeah, we could work on that if we wanted to a little bit. Perfect. So here comes that slight downwards pressure. And as soon as he gets down, I'm going to use my clicker and feed him there. When we're in the acquisition phase of learning, the clicker is going to be super helpful. So if your dog has an excellent clicker response and it's super conditioned like his is, the clicker is going to make learning a new skill like 10 times easier, 10 times faster. So slight downwards pressure. I'm going to release it as soon as he's down, and I'm going to click. Good job. Now, we're going to want to not use the clicker for this once he's learned it really well, which he's like in like 3 or 4 more reps, he's pretty much got it. The clicker is going to produce very antsy, excited behavior. So the clicker is helpful for lots of things, but when we're looking to build stable behavior, and in his case where he's so inclined to follow the food and be right here with us where the food is, we're going to want to fade the clicker out of it so that he's not kind of waiting on the edge of his toenails like to get released to run to us to get food. He's going to get paid more for maintaining stability, good boy, and settling, good boy, in his positions. And so he's going to get room service where we come to him to feed, and he's not waiting to be released to go get to the food. Good. So we're going to talk about getting him into that down position from a standing position and bypassing good. Whoops. Good. I used whoops as his no reward marker. Sorry. Good boy. So again, now that if he breaks, we're going to use the no reward marker with that pressure on the leash. And we're going to start to apply good boy. Okay. And I should have walked in and fed him there. I'll go ahead and feed him now. But ideally, most of his reps are looking like I walk in and feed him, and then I just release him and don't feed him after. What was I just saying before that, though? Do you know? Sorry. Oh, oh, yes. So if we wanted to kind of weed out the stand, sit, down, we can do that. It's really nitpicky at that point because really, who cares? It's more or less just building clarity. He's most likely, when he hears the down command, it does look like he's just offering sit because he's like, this is the most rewarding behavior I know. Boom. And then he's like, that didn't do the trick. Let me offer another behavior. How about this? So sometimes for me, when I see that happening, I'm like, oh, there's a slight clarity issue here. It could be better. So I want to make sure he hears the word down and offers that behavior, not this behavior, that behavior, this behavior, because as we start to add on more skills, he's going to have to cycle. If that's how he's kind of offering behavior, he's cycling through, is it this, is it this, is it this, is it this, is it this? And we really want to make sure that he knows that this means this, if that makes sense. I know I'm boring. All right, so we're going to do another one of these. Very good. Whoops. So, yeah. So I'm inclined to take the pressure off very quickly. As soon as I feel like he's going to offer it, I'm going to let go of the pressure. And if I need to, I can reapply it. Good. Nice. All right. So we could start to proof him. And so we were doing this on place with the new dogs this week. They're learning place for the first time. I would be inclined to test this out on place before I did it in a down. Okay. Good boy. Nice. All right, Muffin Man. place. Good boy. Nice. At this juncture, I don't necessarily want to feed him right away for getting on the bed. We're going to wait for him to settle. We've gone through that. I'm going to go ahead and step on the edge of the leash here. I can remind him place. That's really the only time I want to repeat commands. So we're going to talk about something called the recipe now that we've introduced tactile pressure. Geez Louise, moaning Myrtle over there. We can start to talk about the recipe or the way that we use our commands and pressure so that we get obedience sharper and faster, verbal obedience. So anyway, I'm going to have him hold place. And what I was getting at was I will repeat a command as like a reminder if I really feel like I need to. But what I don't want to do is repeat a command that my dog is just blowing off. So that's where the recipe kicks in. We'll talk about that. I'm going to go ahead and step on the end of his leash right here. Place. I'm going to toss some food out. Good boy. Good. Nice. So he's maybe done this exercise before, and now we're going to up the ante. So I tossed that food out, and he was focused on it. Then now he's giving me some focus. You can tell it's like, he's like, if you could see his expression right now, it's kind of hilarious. I'm going to go ahead and wait for him to settle. And so this is going to help him with some coping skills, good, around things that are causing him to kick into drive. Good. Good, nice. As I go to feed him, I kind of want him to, maintain that stable, calm down. I'll give you that one. Good. Okay, perfect. So it looks like you're probably working on this. This looks definitely like he's had some reps under his belt. And I would say continue to do setups like this. I would say he could probably handle starting to do this type of distraction in a down without the place bed. And that you might find that it's actually a little bit more challenging with that because the place bed gives your dog a bit of like a geographical. It's like it helps their brain kind of like stay rooted. They're like rooted to a physical object. So it helps them kind of maintain stability and gives them like a job to do versus down. Their brain isn't as it's like a proprioception thing. They're not as aware of what their body's doing. So place kind of helps them. It helps your dog bridge the gap between being aware of the rest of their body and what that looks like and what it feels like and what it's doing. And when you start to get the place bed out, you can start to see that carry over. Okay, very good. We could start doing the recipe, but I think I'm going to put a pin in that. I just want to do one more thing. Down. Oops. Cassie, get your little crumb there, bub. Ready? So until I teach my dog the recipe, rather than blow my cue, which is like your command, I will just wait for the dog to kind of, nope, he's chewing on something. I'll just wait before I tell him his command, or I'll say his name first. Eventually, we would have the expectation of, I don't care if there's food on the floor right now. I'm going to tell you this command, and my expectation is that you perform that behavior, and you're going to love to do that. That's the other thing. I don't want like a dog that's like, yes, sir. It's just more like, oh, of course I want to listen to you a second and a half and perform that behavior as soon as you say it. It behooves me to do it that way. We have this copacetic relationship that I get things that I really want, and ignoring you generally is a brick wall, and it prevents me from getting things that I want. So anywho, we're going to say down. I'm going to give him a second to respond, and then I'm going to go, Good. Good job. I'm going to step on that leash. Good. Good. The most awkward looking down I've ever seen, but that's okay. Good. And I want to make sure I give him like this quiet moment of like, oops, sorry, I kind of threw that at you. I'm going to pick that up so it doesn't become a problem. There we go. So you'll notice I'm not re-cueing. So I'm putting pressure on with the leash. Good. Releasing it right there. Good. Good. Whoop. Yeah, good boy. Feed you there. Good. Okay, nice. Go get it. Very good. Another like element, and that just made me think of it because he actually got released and came to me and didn't go right for the food. That's another element we can start to add into advanced obedience, which you could probably start doing now. You'll want to make sure that you have a hold of the leash or step on the leash, release your dog from the down that they're in, and you basically call them to you. So you would use, instead of releasing him with his release word, you could just use the next command. So you could call him into a recall or a front. We can teach him that or whatever. Any command that basically brings him to you. If he blows it off and tries to go for the food, you have the ability to prevent it from happening, and you would reset it until he comes to you first, feed him, then send him out to the food. So that is another like good little element to practice with a dog that's impulsive and trying to go after things or go after food. So he's doing really great. We're going to kind of keep working on his skills, but hopefully you can practice some tactile cues if you haven't already. He's doing great. Good job, Cassie.